about what you think about this as well, because it comes down to legacy, I guess, to a certain extent. Joe Biden making a statement not too long back that the U.S. is still supportive up to the hilt of Israel. There are certain contentions being made about the way that this war is being handled by Israel. There have been calls for moderation, there have been calls for de-escalation that has not taken place. Seemingly, we're also trying to find out what the extent of this is going to be sitting here in India. What, according to you, is the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, and how this will play out?
Well, I think clearly nobody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, war is unpredictable,
yeah.
as you know. Who knows tomorrow if Iranian missile hits a population center in Israel, or some more hostages are taken. It could change the contours of the war. It couldn't do that. I think it's more better for us in India to talk about the economic policies. I think 2-3 hot button issues in America. Yeah. Alex, of course, is abortion. The Supreme Court rejected Roe v. Wade, which allowed U.S. women the right to legally take abortion across America. Big emotive issue. So the women are lining up for the Democrats.
Yes.
Republicans are on the back foot on this. The Trumpian economic policy seems a bit crazy to me. America for the land of the free, home of the brave, get people in, lift up the whole world by the policy of allowing export, preference for exports. Trump is not talking about putting tariffs on everything, not necessarily from China, but from all over the world, which in effect will raise the cost of living.
And he's driving economic policy by that.
He is driving economic policy. And, you know, I'm not sure that's the best policy to do. But if Trump comes back to power, he'll be almost an unchecked emperor in America, because after so much negative press and all the media being against him, if he's re-elected, you know, he has a very strict agenda, which is anti-immigration, which is not good for India, pro-tariffs, which is again not good for India and the world. So I'm not sure, you know, how the world will look if Trump came back. I think Kamala Harris would be a more easily understandable policy, and she will wield American policy with, you know, a soft stick rather than Trump, who's promised brute force.
Okay, so you've explained what it would mean for us sitting in India as well. But from the global context, Ramesh, also policy on economics, right? Where you're talking about a certain response to the pandemic, you're talking about certain responses to economic, you know, pulls and pushes in terms of the size of the US debt. Have you thought that the Biden administration has managed things better than the Trump presidency is? And which of the two do you think would be able to manage all of the moving parts heading into the next 4 years?
Fascinating question. I mean, debt and deficits has been, you know, in 92, George Bush versus Clinton. And Bush had stratospheric rating because he'd won the Gulf War out there. So Clinton knew if he had to win the election, he needed an emotive issue. So he came out with the slogan, "It's the economy, stupid."
Yeah.
He wanted to push back the economy out there, and he actually won election and then re-election based on his handling of the economy, as opposed to Bush, who was considered more of a foreign policy expert. So it is very important that the US election, they're feeling the pain of inflation over the last few years. So it is a very emotive issue for them. But no US president can ignore foreign policy, because the US is the toughest, the biggest daddy on the stick. So let me give you an example. What happens if China tests the US and invades Taiwan? Trump has said, I'm going to hands-off policy. But Taiwan produces everything that's important in the world today, semiconductor chips. Yeah, how do you do that? I think, in my opinion, no US president can unilaterally withdraw from NATO or from defending Taiwan in case there's a threat from Russia or from China. And yet Trump promised to do that. You know, so it's like he's selling the US for, you know, the highest bidder. You give me 2% of your defense budget, I'll support you, others I won't. So I think it's a fascinating exercise.
And certain statements also, sorry to interrupt, but to drive home the point, certain statements when Ukraine was being debated about how he was slighted by Zelensky.
Yeah, I mean, it's more personal. If you suck up or if you're, you know, fawning over him, he tends to like you, like he likes Hungarian premier. If you're taking him on, you don't really like him. So it's a bit of an unknown quantity. The US is too big and important a player to run by the whims and fancy of a man. And yet we might be on the edge of